Yeah.
Just a little bit up higher. Perfect.
Thanks, it doesn't fall down. Okay, is that better?
Turn the volume up.
Turn the volume up, he says. I don't know.
Because you're going to put it down in a hurry.
Am I?
Yes, you just.
Yeah, I guess I kind of end up starting shouting at the beginning and then I kind of peter out and said my voice is too hoarse, right?
Yep.
All right. What makes a dad? God, took the strength of a mountain, the majesty of a tree, the warmth of a summer rain, the calm of a quiet sea, the generous soul of nature, the comfort arm of night, the wisdom of the ages, the power of the eagle's flight, the joy of a morning in the spring, a faith of the mustard seed, patience of eternity, the depth of family need. Then God combined all these things. When there was nothing more to add, he knew his masterpiece was complete, and so he called it Dad. How many dads can live up to what I just read? Right? I kind of wonder who it's, and the author is unknown. I guess they didn't want to take any blame. Father's Day. Today's Father's Day. It's also, did you know that it's National Aboriginal Day? It's the third Sunday of June. International Yoga Day. What else was there? There's a whole bunch of other things. You know, we have so many days of, a day of. And it's just, why? Why do we have all of this stuff? And it's getting to the point where we have a day for everything. We have Grandparents' Day, which is good. I'm a grandparent. I'm glad we have a day that I can celebrate. But we have Professional Secretaries' Day, National Clean Your Desk Day. What was the other one? Jeans Day, wear your jeans to work day. I wear my jeans all the time, so I don't know where that, what good idea that is. But we have so many different things that we celebrate, and yet Father's Day and Mother's Day are two very important days. Contrary to a popular misconception, Father's Day was not established as a holiday to help greeting card manufacturers sell more product. Father's Day was first proposed when there were no Father's Day cards. You've heard the story of Mother's Day, right? The lady decided to honor her mom, and it started by giving her a card. And that's how Mother's Day started. It was to honor mothers. Father's Day was this. Mrs. John B. Dodd of Washington first proposed the idea of Father's Day in 1909. Mrs. Dodd wanted a special day to honor her father, William Smart. William Smart, a Civil War veteran, was widowed when his wife died in childbirth with her sixth child. Mr. Smart was left to raise the newborn and his other 5 children by himself on a rural farm in eastern Washington state. How many dads are willing to take on 2 kids and raise them by themselves? Not too many. And here he was, he raised 6 children by himself. It was after Mrs. Todd became an adult that she realized the strength and selflessness of her father had shown in raising his children as a single parent. The first Father's Day was observed June 19, 1910 in Spokane, Washington. And about the same time in various towns, cities across America, other people were beginning to celebrate Father's Day. In 1924, President Calvin Coolidge supported the idea of a National Father's Day. And in 1966, Lyndon Johnson signed a presidential proclamation declaring the 3rd Sunday of June as Father's Day. Father's Day has become a day not only to honor your father, but all men who act as a father figure. There's quite a number of fathers that are around that don't have children. They raise other people's kids to, not because they want to copy themselves, but they see a need. In Ephesians it says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother," which is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on earth. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in training and instruction of the Lord. Mother's Day and Father's Day were put into place when Moses received the 10 Commandments. It's this first commandment with a promise, right? Honor your mother and your father, and you will have long life. How many want to live a long life? Right? We all want to live a long life. Some of us are saying, well, I don't know if I want to live it the way I'm living it right now, but we all want to be around for a while longer. How many of you are waiting for the day when the Lord comes back? That's how long you want to live till. Right? Isn't that cool? He's coming tomorrow, hopefully. No. But we want to live a long life, and one way to do that is to honor your mother and father. And there's a lot of people have a reason not to honor one or the other, especially fathers. There's a lot of people that are saying there, why would I want to honor somebody who was never in my life? There's a lot of single parent families out there. And unfortunately, that single parent is mom. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's wrong that mom was the single parent. What I'm saying is that she shouldn't be. Nobody should be a single parent, whether you're a mom or a dad. Right? But we're in this society where we find that people are not taking their responsibilities. They're not taking care of the things that we're supposed to take care of. But we have to, if we follow it, we don't have to, but we should follow honoring our parents. And honoring brings us long life. Honoring brings us a life that is without great difficulty. It's not easy. Life is still not easy, no matter how well you're raised in your family. But it is a lot easier when you have the backing of both parents. It's a lot easier when you have the backing of your family. Father's Day is to bring special recognition for our dads, or those whom we like to have had as our dads. For those that have never had a father, it's great to have somebody that you can look up to. I can remember my dad was a very quiet, unassuming, seemed like he never was involved in my life as a child. And I went to church camp, and there was one fellow there. Every year, every summer, for a week, he was my dad. It was kind of cool. He took an interest in what I did. He also took an interest in making sure I walked the straight path. And my hiney was pretty well disciplined, quite well. And he was great. And if it was because of him, maybe I turned out partially as to how I am now. I raised my son quite well. He became vice principal. Right? I'll brag a little bit about my father today. So it's not always just your biological parent that is the great dad. It can be another man in your life who is godly, trustworthy, and honest. In Ephesians, there are two major ways we can honor our dads. The first one is obey. How many always saw their dad with a belt or a stick in their hand and they knew they had to obey? Right? Wasn't that the way it was back when some of us were a little younger? Maybe not so much for the young ones right now. They might not see that because the law will be after their parents if they had something in their hands to correct the child. But the best way to please dad is to do as he asks. How many of your dads would like to hear this? When you say jump, they ask how high. Right? That's the way we wanted to raise our families. However, this word honor or obey is mistreated. Many see it as being reduced to a slave. The feminist movement saw it as such and fiercely objected to wedding vows that said to love, honor, and obey just on the wife's side. And I kind of agree. If the women have to say it, so should the guy. Because it's an equal partnership. And so when obedience is requested from both parents. When obedience is requested from the children. The groom never said, "I will honor you, honey," once. We think that we are to become mindless robots if we're told to obey, with no room to question or challenge the authority figure. Any of you challenge your parents when they said, "I want you to do such and such"? You never? No. I questioned. I was answered, and I did it. There's nothing wrong with asking a reason for something to be done. Do you punish your child just because they said no? You give them a good reason why you want them to do something before you punish them, don't you? Or didn't you? Here's the good reason. Because I asked you to do it and I need this done. Right? No?
Because
That's
it said
good.
so, right?
Not because Dad said so. Sometimes Dad says to do something and it makes no sense whatsoever. I'm guilty of that. I've done that. My kids have come out to me a little later after they've done it and said, "Why did we do all of that?" And I said, "I don't know. I guess just to keep you busy." Looking at it more fully, we find that humans have been shown to be surprisingly obedient in the presence of perceived legitimate authority figures. How do you become a perceived legitimate authority figure? You can't do it by saying, "Do it because I said so." I have never met a person who's raised up well because their fathers, they were under the strict obedience. God said, their dad said to do it, so I have to do it regardless of whether it makes sense or not. Most of the kids that I know that have a fairly good relationship with their parents, they discuss things with their parents. It might be one word of, well, it needs to be done. It doesn't have to be because I said so. That isn't good enough excuse for what I did. But the reason why is this needs to be done because this is what is required. And you give them an explanation. And when we do that, we start to become legitimate authority figures. So this is training for Roberto. He's not a dad yet, right? You don't have to, it's more than just, I remember, was it Dr. Spock was the one that said, you can take your 1-year-old child and reason with them? No. You can take your 3-year-old child and reason with them? No, that doesn't work. But when they become 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 years old, you can reason with them. And you can explain things to them. And they have a concept. And then they start to respect. They understand why you're the authority figure. As adults, we view today's children as in total rebellion. How many of you have gone to a school and listened to the kids playing on the playground? Man, some of the language that comes out of them, my mouth would have been washed out with soap by my wife. It's just incredible. I had a pleasant surprise yesterday. I was having breakfast at the cafe. 3 young men came in. And for 20 minutes straight, there was not one foul word out of their mouth. And they were talking about the great time they went fishing. And, you know, and they didn't look like Christians. They just looked like young people who were enjoying life, but were respectful with their language. They were respectful. And I'm thinking, now there's 3 young men whose dad raised them right. Or the father figure was there to raise them. It's very rare that I come across anybody that's young that doesn't have some kind of foul language coming in. But that was a blessing. Boy, I was so happy when I heard that. I even went running over to Claudine after, and I said, "Claudine, I met the greatest 3 kids. They didn't say a single curse word in 20 minutes. And she smiled and said, "Okay." Maybe she's heard it before. Dads are no longer the authority figure in their house. Do you know that men were created to be the authority figures? Right? It says right in Genesis, doesn't it?
Yeah.
God said, here you are in charge of the garden. You are in charge of the animals. And you're partnering with Eve. You're not in charge of Eve. You're partnering with her. So let's get that out of the way. It's a partnership. God did it right at the beginning. He says the two will meet together and become one. You can't become one if one is bossy over the other. We are to be leaders and guiders as fathers, as husbands. Our society has got dads so confused as to who they are. What is the number one thing that a dad should be in most people's minds? The number one thing that a dad should be, I think, is that they should be the breadwinner in the family, right? That has been a tradition and a thought for how many thousands of years. He's the one that goes and takes the club, goes out into the wilds, clubs the animal, drags it home and says, here, honey, skin it, cook it, get it. I provided it, you do the work. Right from the very beginning, right? And that's the trouble, is that we've taken that, and now Dad is the one that sits at the office and he goes and he works from 4 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock the following morning. Where does he have time for his family? And that's not what God ordained to happen. He said to take care of the things around you first. And one of the things that are around you is your relationship with God first. That's the number one thing that has to be important in a father's life. That is where we become into the practice of obedience, obeying God. And when we learn to obey God, we can pass that obedience down to our children and to our family. We can't be caught up in being just the breadwinner. We also have to think about raising our family up. Do you know that there are more solid families when the dad is the leader in church? And I'm not going to put down the women, because men have abdicated their responsibilities to women. They've taken a step back and said, here, you can have it all. And women are doing a great, fantastic job. But when a man gets involved, more of the family becomes involved. God tells children to obey their parents. Parents need to earn the right to be obeyed, right? Like I said, following God first and learning obedience there. For many in this world, others have earned the right of children, and some are called father. Now, for those that don't have children, you can earn the right to be called a father. How many here have ever done big brothers or big sisters? Right? That's an amazing group. They, you know, because it's a secular organization now, you can't force your religion on them, which is fine. But as a Christian parent, as a Christian person, we can become a big brother or a big sister to a child. And we can nurture them along. We can't, I don't want you to cram down religion down their throats, or cram your faith down. You can't even do it to your own children. Why would you do it to somebody else's? But we have that opportunity to use that as a witness. We have that opportunity to be able to give God's word out to those who would not be able to hear it. What have we done as dads to earn the right to be obeyed? Secondly, honor. What goes through your mind when you're called to honor somebody? You bow and scrape. Right? Do you call them Mr.? Or your honor? Or what? What does it mean to honor someone? When I'm faced with honoring someone, I think of presenting a plaque. Right? Hey, you know, Jim's done a great job as a rancher, so he gets Cattleman of the Year award. Right? And that's honoring his ability. Or maybe Ed with his bulldozing. When he clears the road for everybody, we give him a plaque with a snow shovel or something and say, here, we honor you as being that kind. Or we give a rendition of what that person means to us. Right? We sit there and we'll say, well, you know, Steve over there is a great environmental scientist, and he's helped us to create the perfect environment for the church, right? By planting trees outside or something. And so we honor him because of his abilities. That's what honor means. But what does it mean for a child to honor his parent? What if that child never had a father at home? What does that child feel towards that father? And it says, honor your parents. Honor both your father and your mother. How can you honor somebody who isn't there? How can you give them that respect? That plaque that says, you're my great dad. Well, you can't. But how does that person still fulfill the command to say, honor your parents? For it gives you long life. Well, the number one thing that child has to do, and because we are told to do it as Christians, period, is to forgive. Forgive one another that it may go well with you. They may not accept that forgiveness from you. They may not even know that they hurt you. They were that one night stand that didn't even know that you were conceived. But you know, it's the forgiving of your heart, of taking out that bitterness and that anger and that disillusionment and all the things that go with that, and casting it aside and forgiving Dad. That's what it takes. And that little bit honors that person. It releases you to live a long life. It releases you from that anxiety, the worry, the stress. That's how we honor someone. The Greek idea of honor is to place value or price. And to forgive gives that small price of a release for you. Now, we honor a lot of things, don't we? How many of you like to tell about the new car they bought? Right? Or the house that they have? Or that painting that, what was it? There's a fundraiser going around for one of the animal places, and it was a painting by a monkey. And all he does is go. And it sells for tens of thousands of dollars, and you're kind of like, what? That's art? But we place value on certain things. We try to give worth. But we honor our fathers because of what they've done for us. Even the ones that were never there. They gave us a life. They started us in. Our value may be very, very little for that person. But we still need to honor them. God honors us because we forgive. and He makes us a great Father. He is our Father, and we have to honor Him, for He gave us the best that anyone could give. He gave Himself to us, so that we may see Him in the life after. We may see Him now. Many of us have had fathers. Those are that have everything. Faults, warts, pimples, bad habits, maybe a temper. But we still need to honor them. Today's Father's Day. We honor our fathers because we love them. We honor our fathers because we love the greatest Father that we've ever had. And we can call Him Abba. God gave us so much, and He guarantees us so much. We can trust, honor, and obey our Father in Heaven. Apparently, fathers, I'm going to call you here to the front. All those fathers